Hello and welcome to the Global Sports Channel. I'm your host, Mark Philpott, and it's absolutely fantastic to have you with us today. Now, if you're a first-time watcher of the show or listener to the show, welcome. It's great to have you here. Before you run away or do anything else, hit the subscribe button and the little bell notification. Every time we drop a video here on our YouTube channel, you will be notified about that. If you are a returning member of our audience, thank you for your loyalty. It's always fantastic to have you coming back. And don't forget to check us out on our social media. That's right, Global Sports Channel on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Leave your comments about our content and all the things that we put up there. We'd like to hear from you. Plenty of people around the world of sports getting connected to the Global Sports Channel. That's a fantastic thing. Now, we're just about to launch an initiative called Love Athletes. Yes, that's right. For a few months now, we've been working hard on putting a program together that's going to actually help athletes and coaches across the world. We're focusing on helping those professional athletes, those ones that have decided to choose sport as their profession. And a lot of them do it very, very tough. In fact, we're recording this show in the height of the Tokyo Olympic Games, and what you see on television is only a small bite size of all the effort that goes into these amazing athletes reaching the pinnacle of world sport. But I can assure you there's a lot of them that don't reach that level, and they do it very, very hard. So our Love Athletes platform that we're about to launch is going to do a whole lot of amazing things to actually help the journey of these professional athletes and coaches. We're going to be supporting them through funding and organising funding opportunities for them. We're going to introduce them to sponsors and opportunities for them to be brand ambassadors. We're going to help them out with things like mental health support, also training and all sorts of different things that will help them later on in life when their sports career is over. We also have a program called the Pathway to Employment program, which is going to help retiring athletes to find a job after they've finished their professional sports career. A lot of things that aren't taken care of today. We're going to step up and play a small part in helping as many professional athletes across the world. So if you're watching the show today and you're starting off on your journey as a professional athlete, or maybe you already are a professional athlete and go, wow, this sounds pretty cool, check it all out, loveathletes.com. You'll be able to find out exactly what we're doing. Now, on today's show, I'm going to be introducing you to one of the athletes that's joining our program. She's going to be one of our global trialists. We've hand-selected a group of athletes that are going to participate in a trial of our program for the next few months. And this athlete comes all the way from Australia, from Tasmania, in fact. So let's go over and meet her right now and find out a little bit more about her journey in the world of sport. So it's a very warm welcome to the Global Sports Channel today to Jessica Smith. Jessica, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fabulously well, and I'm probably a lot warmer than you because you're down there in beautiful Tasmania in Australia, aren't you?
Yes, it's been very cold lately.
Well,
Hoping to warm up soon.
it is the middle of winter down there at the moment, and it's a little bit chilly even for the locals, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, it's very cold. We've been having many layers on at school. We've been having the heaters on. So we've got to try and keep warm in every possible way.
Well, that's terrific. And I was just telling you off air that the show today is going to around about 103 countries around the world where people are going to be watching and listening into you. So if you're out there and you're listening to and watching the show with Jessica today from Tasmania in Australia, and you haven't visited the beautiful state of Tasmania in Australia, get yourself on a plane when we can all travel again and come and visit the beautiful Apple Isle of Tasmania, because it's a beautiful part of the world to live, isn't it, Jessica?
Yes, it's got so many landscapes that you can visit, and it's just like a place where it's not too built, with not got too many buildings, and you can travel around, so it's small, so you're not having to travel like an hour out to get to a massive big place. So everyone's kind of close, and it's just a great place to be and live with.
Yeah, it is, exactly. Now, for people, it's a pretty adventurous place as well. There's lots of outdoorsy type things to do in Tasmania. So what would you recommend?
Yes.
A couple of things for people to come and do in Tasmania. What are a couple of your favourite places to go and visit in Tasmania?
Well, I'd recommend going to Cradle Mountain, which is up past Hobart, in between about Launceston and Hobart. If you haven't been to like Launceston, then there's many great things like landscapes up there, and there's Wineglass Bay, and there's many walks to do there as well, and Bruny Island, which you can catch a boat there, and there's many
Dad's
lovely,
Dad's
yeah.
telling you some stuff in the background. Okay. So,
There's
the idea is to chuck your running shoes in your car and get on a mountain bike and come down and travel around Tasmania and see the beautiful state. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
There's many mountain bike tracks as well that you can go on. So
yeah.
there's like Mean Range near Mornington,
Fantastic.
which is in Hobart.
You're probably going to get a phone call from the Tasmanian Tourist Office tomorrow, and they're going to recruit you to help them sell their beautiful state of Tasmania. We're going to talk about athletics today because you are an athlete, and I'm very privileged because you're joining us on our Love Athletes program. You're one of the selected athletes who's going to be part of our global trial. That's going to kick off very soon, and by the time people are watching this video, the trial's already going to be underway, so that's going to be exciting. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into athletics. When did you start getting into running?
Well, at about 7 years of age, Mum was getting ready for a run, and Mum and Dad would always go on their weekend long runs. So I always saw them going for runs, and I got dressed one day and told Mum that I was coming with her. And she was kind of a bit hesitant about saying whether I should come because she was going afar, like many kilometres. But I said to Mum that I'd come with her, and I stuck with her the whole way. And before this age, I participated in like the school kindergarten to grade 2, like running events and athletics. Like they're kind of just the fun events for little kids. And I was like the only kid on the start line in the running position, and everyone else was kind of just standing there. But I was ready to go, and as soon as the gun went, I was just off running up the like straight. And going back to how old I was at 7 years old with Mum, I ran 7Ks with her after the run, so she was pretty surprised about that only at 7 years of age.
Yeah.
But from here on, I kind of just loved running and found a passion for it. And I joined like Clarence Little Athletics Club, which is just like athletics but for little kids that you can join, and that was very fun. And I participated in school cross countries, which I have always won up in like to where I am today. And I've participated in like the school athletics in like year 3 up until recently, and I found a running coach at about grade 4 after I started beginning to go to nationals, and I've just continued running up until now.
Well, fantastic. How old are you now, Jessica?
I'm 14 years of age.
You're 14. So let's go back to those 7 years ago when you took on Mum on your first run. Tell us about, she must have been pretty shocked that you kept up for 7 kilometres, was she?
Yeah, I think she was a little bit shocked, like just being that little, keeping up with Mum on her long run. And she was not going like a particularly slow pace as well. So my family's always been into running and participating in like sports, so it was like a pretty good achievement to keep up just at that young age.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So what inspired you to go out for a run with Mum that day? Was it you're just sick and tired of staying at home when Mum and Dad went out for a run, were you?
I'm not really sure, but I always like saw Mum and Dad getting ready and going out for their run and going to the gym and participating in like other sports. And I think I just like got developed in that area of like participating in sports and started to like find a love for running and want to participate in that sport because I saw Mum and Dad like always going out for runs, so that kind of got me into running.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what other sports did you do at school when you were around 7? Did you try other things as well other than running?
Well, I was only in grade 1, but we did have a prep to. I started like school soccer,
Hmm.
which Dad coached. So I participated in school soccer with some of my school friends, and we kept that same little group from prep to about grade 2, and we were a great little bunch there. So
And did
we
you
kept.
did you enjoy soccer more than running at that stage, or were you kind of always wanting to do running?
Well, I wasn't really like participating in running that much because I wasn't really a part of a squad yet or been doing that many long runs. So I was kind of into soccer more than running at that age, as I'd been like playing it and practicing more than what I'd do with running.
Mm. It sounds to me like you're probably sitting around the dinner table and talking about sport all the time in your family. Is that right?
Yeah, we talk about sport and our achievements that we've done and participating in many different things.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk about the running a little bit more. When you got into a club and started running to a club, how do you, for a lot of people out there who want to start off running and they maybe haven't gone and joined a club yet, how does one go about selecting a club to go and run at?
Well, if you're like a little kid below like under 15, you can join Little Athletics, which is there's many different clubs based around Hobart that you can join. And if you're a senior athlete, you can join clubs that you can participate in cross country and athletics, track and field, and that there. And you can also join those clubs, I guess, and that's where you can begin to enjoy and find a love for running.
So even for old guys like me, you can go along and join a running club and get stuck into it. Is that right?
Yes, there's a masters club for I think over 50s that many young, well, oldish men and women participate in.
You should. That was when you were supposed to say you're not that old, Mark. You don't have to join masters. Okay, so you joined a club, and then I guess you started to get into some races. How old were you when you started doing your first lot of races?
Well, at school, that's when I participated in grade 3.
Hmm.
I participated in the school cross country and athletics, but I joined Clarence Little Athletics, which is a little athletics club at under nines, and I went in like a participated in little athletics up until under 12s, where then I moved on to senior athletics with Northern Suburbs,
Mm,
and that's really oh
that's when it started. Okay, so were you winning races in the under nines? Were you beating everybody then?
well, not in the like jumps and all of that, but in 1500 and 800, I was always competitive with this one of my training friends now, and we always used to compete a lot, and it'd always be her first, me first, and it kind of rotated around, and we pushed each other, which was really like good to help us develop.
Yeah, that's really good. Were there a lot of girls in that first club that you joined? Was there a lot of different genders racing?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of boys and girls in. Well, there's a lot of people in Clarence Little Athletics, but I had maybe around 15 girls in my age group, and there was around about the same amount of boys in my age group at that time as
Hmm.
well.
Hmm. So tell us about the distances that you started off running. What and how did you come to run those distances and enjoy them? Was it obvious that you wanted to do a little bit longer distance rather than doing sprints?
Yeah, well, I started off with 800 metres and 1500 metres. I don't really know why I started like longer distance, but I kind of just enjoyed them more than sprinting. And up until about maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, I started to get into the longer distance, like 3K and 5K, and now steeplechase.
Yeah, fantastic. So you like jumping over hurdles as well.
Yes, this
Well,
the big steeplechase.
brilliant. So tell us how your career started to progress, because obviously as you did races, things got more and more serious, and
Yes.
I'm sure there was a lot of club competitions that then even further afield into state competitions. How did that all start for you?
I didn't really compete much in the state type events when I was younger, but as I got older, mum and dad would enter me into eight the eights and 1500s to compete for like Tassie against everybody down here, and then I when I was a little bit older, I kept on competing in those events and then went to nationals for eights and 15s.
Okay.
So
Yeah, terrific. So when we're around that age, we all look up to older runners and role models, whether they
yes.
be Olympic champions or stars within our state. Did you have anybody that you used to look up to and just go, God, I want to be like that person one day?
I did look up to Kathy Freeman when I was younger and Sally Pearson a little bit, but I wasn't like now I look up to people like Genevieve Gregson, but I didn't really know her when I was younger. Yeah.
So you weren't even born when Kathy won the gold medal in
Yeah.
Sydney. That's right. Gosh, that makes
Yeah.
me feel very old, but that's good. So Kathy was one of your idols, and tell us how difficult it is to run the 800 though, because it's a very difficult race, isn't it? You know, a lot of
Yeah.
people, they go out too fast in that first lap and they burn themselves up and they've got nothing to come home. I think I've only run about one or two 800s in my life, and I died every time in the last lap. So did you also make that mistake when you first started running the 800?
Yeah. When I first started, I'd always go out faster in the first couple like 100 meters, and then I'd slow it down for the middle bit of the race, and then I'd try and finish it off faster in the last bit. But now when I got older, I learnt that like you have to kind of use your splits and pace yourself correctly, so not going out too fast so then you burn out in the last distances of the race, and trying to bring it home strong. And that's
Yeah, it's a very
yeah,
tactical race, the 800. Well,
yeah,
all
it's
the
very
all the track
fast.
races are tactical races if you're not a sprinter. But you talked about the 1500 as well as the 3K steeplechase. Which is your favourite event?
I like steeplechase at this current age, but when I was younger, I did like the 1500 better than the 800.
What do you think's the hardest
Yeah.
out of those three races, the 800, 15, or the steeplechase?
Well, I think the 800's a very fast event, so I'm more used to the longer events where it's kind of you got to pace yourself for the long distance, but 800's kind of just a sprint. You've got to like take it out and got to try and hold that sprint. But I think steeplechase, you've also got to get over the hurdles and keep on going, like running through, and make sure you're trying to not like slip off the hurdles as well.
Yeah,
So
because I guess when you're younger, you're running some of these races on grass as well. Is that right? Not just
yeah,
on track. So it can be quite dangerous, can't it? Getting over some of those hurdles.
yes. I didn't really compete in steeplechase on grass. Like I only just joined recently, and I participated in that event on track. But in eights and 15s, I did compete on grass in those events for many years at Little Athletics. And I mean, the grass is slower. Like when I moved onto the track, when we had the track competitions, I would always usually get PBs because it's a faster like track compared to grass.
So what do you find the hardest about the 3K steeplechase? What's the most difficult part of that race?
Yes, I only do the 2,000 meter
Oh, you
steeplechase
do
because that's
2000. Okay.
yes. But I mean, trying to keep your pace up of running, but still trying to get over the hurdles is like you got to kind of concentrate because one time I did slip over the water jump of the steeple, and that was just before the recent nationals. And I think my foot just missed the spike didn't spike into the wooden bit of the steeple, and it kind of hit the base of the foot and slipped off. So you've got to concentrate about trying to get the spike into the steeple, but as well as trying to pick up your speed on the flat.
Well, I've got to tell you something funny. A long time ago, when television sets were still black and white, I ran my one and only steeplechase race. It was in New Zealand. It was a cold, miserable Kiwi day in New Zealand, and it was a grass track. And I remember arriving at the water jump for the first time, and I was running in bare feet, as we all were back in those days, and I jumped up onto the hurdle on top of the water jump and looked down and thought, I'm never going to be able to make it across this water jump. And I slipped off into the water and ended up basically swimming out of the water pit. So that's how disastrous I was at the steeplechase. But a lot of people don't realise, one, how high those hurdles are, and secondly, how far the water jump actually is, right?
Yeah, the water jump's pretty far, and you got to try and push your foot off the steeple to try and get land out of the water. So you're trying to get as far as possible out of the water, so you don't, I guess, slow down, because the water can pull you back, and then your competitors can run past you if you're not really pushing off that steeple.
How many steeples are there to get over in a 2,000 kilometer? A 2,000 meter race that you're doing at the moment? How many steeples do you have to go over?
There's 4 placed around the track, and there's 1 water jump, so that's 5 in total. And we do about 3 laps and a bit, so that's about 15 and a little bit more.
Wow, you must be
steeples to get over.
Extremely tired by the time you finish.
Yeah, it's a very tiring event, but it's very fun to participate in.
Now, 2,000 metres, have they decided to have it less than 3K for your age group, is it? Once you get older, you go up to the 3,000 metres, is that right?
Yeah, so once you get, I think it's about under 18s, you move up to 3K steeplechase, and that's something Genevieve Gregson's doing now. She's doing the 3K steeplechase.
Right.
And the heights stay the same for the women, but the heights for the men do increase
do you
as
only
you get older.
You're obviously racing against women, but do you do any races where you are racing against guys as well?
Down in Tassie, there's not many competitors as it's a small state, but so I do compete against some of the men, like younger men, but there's not many adults who compete in steeplechase.
Right.
So it's mainly just young boys, but there's a couple boys that I do compete with down here.
So that must make it difficult for you, because getting good competition, because as you get older, you're going to be competing against women within that distance. So it must be quite difficult for you when it comes to competition. Is that right?
Yes. It's good to try and get away to other states to compete against more competition, because down here you don't get much competition, and if you're in front, then you've kind of just got to run against the clock and push yourself that way, as there's not many people in Tassie to race against compared to Queensland and Victoria and New South Wales and those states.
Yeah, understandably. Now, with your steeplechase, is that going to be the race of the future for you? Is that something you're going to focus a lot on and see how far you can go at that distance, or do you have other dreams to do other distances?
Yes, well, I'm hoping to continue with 2K steeple or 3K steeple when I get older, but I do also participate in 3,000 metres. So I focus on both steeplechase and 3K at about the same time. So in track season, I do sessions that kind of incorporate both steeple and 3,000 metre, and I'm hoping to go to the Olympics when I'm older to compete in those events.
Fantastic. So it must be really good for your 3,000 metre flat race to be doing the steeplechase, because it gives you a lot of strength. Is that right?
Yeah, it does give you a lot of strength to help push through the 3K steeplechase, the 3K event, but you do need some endurance to push through as well.
So what do you prefer out of the 3K flat versus the steeplechase? Do you have a favourite out of those two events?
I do quite like the steeplechase a little bit more than the 3K, as it's more fun like to jump over the steeples, and it's a bit more exciting than just running many laps around the track.
Yeah.
But I did participate in the 2K steeple at nationals, as like it was too close to compete in both the 3K and the steeple, so I had to pick one, and I picked the steeplechase.
Is that going to be a problem going forward, where you're going to find that a lot of the meets that you go to, the scheduling of the meets is not going
Yeah.
to allow you to compete in both races?
Yeah, it's happened for many people in my squad as well. We've had trouble trying to, the Athletics Australia hasn't scheduled the two events to be a couple days apart. They've just placed them both in 2 days. So the first day could be 3K and the second day could be steeple, or like as you get older, it switches around. But I think they have tried to, people have requested to move the events further apart, but they haven't done that, and they've kept it closer. So I think it will be a problem as I get older to try and have to pick one.
Yeah, okay. If I put you on the spot today and say that you've got to pick one to go to the Olympics, which one would you pick?
Well, I think I might pick steeplechase at the moment.
You love going over those hurdles, eh?
Yeah, I do. I did win gold at nationals for steeple as well, so
Fantastic.
hoping to, yeah.
I bet you love cross-country running as well.
Yeah, I do participate in cross country. I kind of like the longer distance, such as the shorter distance, but it's fun to get in, going through the cross country courses, as you've got mud and rocks to jump over and all those type of things. And it changes it up. So instead of running around the track all the time, it's good to get cross country running in so it's pretty good.
Very good. Now, you told us earlier about the first time you went for a run with Mum and Dad, and how that all worked out. But a little birdie told me that you went for a run with your parents one day, and you actually bet them, and you started beating them, and you can beat them now. That must have been a big turning point for you.
Yeah, well, I always used to be the same pace as Mum and Dad used to be a little bit faster than both of us. But then Mum got a little bit, she kept the same pace, and I've got faster as I've put more training in. And then Dad's, he always used to run with me in the training sessions when I'd do them on my own to give me more company, and he would push me as well. But lately I've been training more to get faster and faster, and Dad's not being able to keep up those full distance.
Well, I can tell you what, it's the worst day of a parent's life when their child ends up beating them in the sporting arena. I remember the first time I bet my father in a game of tennis, which was my passionate sport, and he was very upset the day that I finally beat him in a game of tennis.
Yeah, I think Dad was a bit shocked as well.
Very good. Now, we both know your coach, who's a fantastic lady, and how long has she been coaching you for now?
My coach is Susan Andrews, and I did first start out with Yvette Edwards, who was my first coach, and then I transitioned into Susan Andrews' group, which was about maybe 2 years ago. So I've been with Susan for about 2 years now.
And how much of a difference does it make when you actually are getting coached by somebody, and Susan's an ex-Australian Olympic representative as well, so she's been to the Olympic Games, she knows what it's all about. Has it helped you a lot by being around somebody who has all that experience?
Yeah, it has helped a little bit. They have the experience of racing, and they have this, they've gone through the nerves and all of the competitiveness that you have to go through. So she does give good advice for those particular parts of racing and running, which is very helpful.
Yeah, fantastic. So have your times improved a lot since you've been coached?
Yes, I did start out in the 1500 around 540, and they've now increased to about 456.
Whoa, that's fantastic.
Yes.
What do you think What do you think you can get down to? What do you think your best time for a 15 is going to be in 10 years from now?
Well, I'm not really sure, because I don't really compete much in 1500 anymore, but I'm hoping to get down to around maybe 4:30 around
Right.
that time.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's pretty impressive to be able to run 4:30, 1500 meters. That's for sure. So the dream is to be an Olympian, and in the last couple of days down here in Australia, we got some outstanding news that Brisbane has
Yes.
been chosen for the Olympic Games in 2032. You must be excited about that.
Yes, I was very excited when I heard that news, and I thought I could be attending, if I train hard, attending those Brisbane 2032 Olympics. And I did work out that I'd be around 25 years of age, and that's when most Olympians peak. So I was very excited to hear that news and think that I could be maybe participating on home ground soil. So I was very excited about that.
Well, it's a great motivator, isn't it, now to have that goal at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. And it's something, as you say, you're going to be in the prime of your life as far as your athletic career goes. And there's no reason why you can't be on the start line in Brisbane in 2032.
Yeah, that's my ultimate goal, to keep on training hard to get to that and reward myself for getting to those Olympics and hopefully aiming for a medal as well.
Well, brilliant. I'll tell you what, I'm going to book you for an interview because I want you to come back on the show and talk to us all about the medal that you won for Australia at the Brisbane Olympic Games. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Yes, hopefully I do train hard and achieve one of those medals one day, and I'd be happy to come back and be interviewed.
Terrific. Well, let's talk also about the hardships, because you've talked about all the great side of running, but for a lot of people that are watching and listening today, they don't understand sometimes the hard work that goes into being an athlete and all the things that
Yes.
you've got to put up with and deal with. And of course, like everybody else at the moment, COVID-19 is a big part of our lives, and it's been affecting, I'm sure, your competitions and the things that you've been doing. So why don't you tell us about some of the things that are difficult for athletes to deal with in their training and their life, and in particular in these COVID times?
Yes, well, I haven't been injured that much, but when you are injured, it's very hard to come back like with that injury, and you then have to build up to what you were originally, like the speed you were at before you got injured. And that means everybody else is getting faster in your age group, so you have to try and catch up to that maximum speed again, as well as like days where you're not very sick and you're not really feeling like running. You kind of have to just either listen to your body and not push yourself that hard, or just go out and have an easy session. But overall, running's a pretty good sport as well, but you do like deal with the hardships of injury and sickness and missing out days of training if you've like not been feeling that well. And yeah,
Do you train every day?
not every day, but I do train Tuesdays and Thursdays with the squad that I am in, and I do either do a training session or racing on Saturday, and usually a long run on Sunday. And I do strength on Wednesday.
Wow, so it's a pretty packed week for a 14-year-old to handle all of that.
Yes, it's pretty full on as well, so I have to be organised and make sure I'm ready for the training sessions.
Yeah, great. And what competitions have you got coming up? Is there a lot on your schedule coming up over the next couple of months?
Well, I was getting prepared for the 2021 National Cross Country that was meant to be held in Adelaide in August. I think it's August the 22nd, but because of COVID-19, we have been told that they have postponed that event. So hopefully the event is still on and not cancelled, as like it could be getting too close to track season. But hopefully I'm still being able to participate in that national cross country, because it might interfere with getting prepared for track training as well.
Yeah, it's very difficult, isn't it? Because as an athlete, your training cycles are built around getting ready to peak for competitions. And when the competition goes in the calendar, you're already working out your training schedule to arrive at that competition in the best shape you can. But at the moment, everything is so uncertain and things are getting cancelled and postponed. It must be very hard emotionally and mentally as well for you to deal with all of that. Is that right?
Yes, it's very hard to like you know those events are coming up, but you're uncertain whether to push it and have that peak for that event, or like maybe just be in the middle, and like everybody's kind of uncertain about whether they're going to participate in those events or not, and whether they should push hard and get that peak or just stay around where like what speed they're at now. So it's very hard, especially with COVID-19, trying to deal with that event, like that pandemic.
Have you been vaccinated yet?
No, not yet. I'm too young to get vaccinated, but mum and dad have, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so they haven't made a decision yet on your age group as far as vaccinations go?
No, I think they've got the many older people vaccinated, like the elderlies over, I think, 80, and they've got 4 people over 40 vaccinated, and they're starting to introduce under 16s and over to get vaccinated. So hopefully, maybe by the end of the year, I'll be vaccinated and everybody will start to get back to normal.
Yeah, brilliant. Let's hope that's the case, and that everybody can start not only travelling around Australia, but also overseas again and going and visiting all those great places. So in the next couple of years, Jessica, what are some of the goals that you've got set out for yourself to achieve in the world of running?
Well, I'm hoping to travel around Australia and participate in more like international events, as well as like going to Sydney and competing in more events like that, and more fun runs that are like where you can kind of race against the top athletes, such as the Olympians and those type of events, and hopefully travel around when I get older to around the world and participate and compete with the world class athletes that are my age. So that's one of my ultimate goals, as well as being an Olympian.
Fantastic. Well, you know what? When you work hard, you can achieve your goals in life, and I'm sure that you're going to do that. Now, before I let you go today, I want you to give some young people out there a little bit of advice. If they're thinking about getting into running and getting into sport, what would your advice be to them today?
I would encourage many people to participate and start getting into running, as you can win many things, which is not always the part of running, but you can have fun as well. And I've built many friendships in running. Like I've met many of my training squad members, as well as people who I compete against, people in other states that I've built friends with. And I guess it's just a really fun like running event. It's a very fun sport where you can just go out at your own pace, enjoy the scenery, and just go for a run. Really.
Brilliant. Well, listen, at 14 years old, you're a very good ambassador for the sport of running, and you're doing amazing things down there in Tasmania, and we can't wait to see you on the world stage as you get older and you start taking on some of those global events that you've been talking about. Welcome aboard the Love Athletes platform. We're very excited to have you as a member of our team. You've been selected as a small group that are going to participate, and we're going to do everything we can to help to support you on your athletic journey over the next couple of years.
Thank you, and I'm very excited to join the Love Athletes platform.
Terrific. Well, we're going to have you back again on the show one day, in the not too distant future, Jessica. So until then, you keep training hard, and we'll speak to you again soon on the Global Sports Channel.
Thank you, and I look forward to being back.
There we are, another one of our fantastic athletes that are participating in the Love Athletes project. And if you didn't hear me at the beginning of the show, I'm just mentioning that the Love Athletes program is designed to support athletes and coaches across the world who are in a professional pursuit of excellence within their sport, and we're here to try and help them in as many different ways as we can. We're going to get sports fans around the world to raise funds to help these athletes achieve their goals, in addition to providing them with mental health support, media training, social media training, branding, networking, and a whole list of other things that we're going to do to help these young athletes on their way to becoming superstars of sport in the future. So if you want to know more about that, check out our website at loveathletes.com. You can see Jessica there and her videos, and she'll be making a video every week to post on her page on that site to update you on how she's going with her training and her races and everything else. So it'll be very, very inspirational. And as you heard me ask her, I'm going to interview her when she wins a medal at the Brisbane Olympic Games in 2032. Wouldn't that be something fantastic? Well, that's it for the Global Sports Channel for this episode. Thank you very much again for joining me. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so and hit the little bell notification button. And check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram under Global Sports Channel. We'd love to hear from you. Post a comment. Let us know what you think of the content and any suggestions that you might have for us for what you want to see from the world of sport. Until next time, my name's Mark Philpott. Stay safe and stay well, everybody. Bye for now.